Something strange showed up in a Goldman Sachs survey from 2025. Researchers asked more than 5,100 people about their finances, and 40% of the workers earning over $300,000 a year said they live paycheck to paycheck. That number is surprising on its own. What makes it stranger is the comparison. Only 25% of the people earning between $100,000 and $200,000 said the same thing. So a group earning 2 or 3 times more felt more squeezed than the group earning less. If income were the whole story, that could not happen. Hand someone $300,000 a year and the math should take care of itself. Yet it does not, and it never has for most people. Something else is running the show, and once you see it, your whole relationship with money shifts. Start with the cleanest proof anyone has found. A team of researchers looked at roughly 35,000 winners of Florida's Fantasy 5 lottery over about a decade. Some won small amounts, others won between $50,000 and $150,000, which is life-changing money for a struggling family. The researchers matched those winners against bankruptcy records from before and after the win. The big winners did better at first. In the first 2 years, they were about 50% less likely to go bankrupt than the small winners. Then the pattern flipped. Between years 3 and 5, the big winners filed more often. By the 5-year mark, their bankruptcy rate had caught up completely. Here is the part that says the most. The big winners who ended up filing had about the same savings and about the same credit card debt as people who had won almost nothing. Random people got a check large enough to wipe out most household debt in America, and 5 years later they were standing in the same place. The cash was real and the relief was real. It simply wore off. That study points at something almost nobody talks about. Money flows through a system, and that system was built long before the money showed up. If nothing changes inside it, the money passes through and comes out the other side. Psychologists have a name for the main reason this happens. It is called hedonic adaptation, and it describes how fast people get used to good things. A raise feels amazing in week 1. By month 3, it feels normal. The apartment that thrilled you becomes the place where you keep your stuff. The car that made you grin becomes the thing you drive to work. Your brain resets what counts as normal, then looks around for the next upgrade. Every human brain works this way. It helped our ancestors adjust to new places in a hurry. In a world that offers monthly payments on almost everything, it works against you. Comparing yourself to others speeds the whole thing up. Your income tends to rise inside a circle where everyone else's income is rising too, so the spending around you slowly becomes the standard you measure yourself by. Here is how it plays out. A raise arrives and it feels like permission. A splurge would barely register. The upgrade is what reshapes every month that follows. The apartment gets bigger, the car payment goes up, the subscriptions pile on. Each choice makes sense on its own, and each one fits your budget in the month you make it. The trap hides inside the word monthly. Buying something once takes money from you once. A monthly bill takes money from you for years, and it is much harder to undo. You can decide to skip a holiday this summer. Getting out of a lease, a car loan, or a school you already signed up for takes months and usually costs money to escape. So the raise stops being extra money and becomes a floor. Your cost of living rises to meet what you earn, and your savings sit exactly where they were. Look at what that does across the country. In June 2026, Americans saved 2.7% of their after-tax income. For every $100 that landed in people's hands after taxes, $2.70 stayed behind. Bank of America Institute found that in 2025, nearly 24% of households spent more than 95% of their income on basics alone. That leaves people fragile in a specific way. Bankrate's 2026 report found that only 30% of Americans would cover a surprise $1,000 bill out of savings. About 29% now owe more on credit cards than they have saved for emergencies. When there is no cushion, an ordinary event turns into a money event. A transmission fails, a tooth cracks, the water heater gives out. None of that is a disaster on its own. Without savings, it goes on a card at over 20% interest, and a $900 repair turns into an 18-month payment plan that eats into every month after it. This deserves an honest note, because the story is not only about personal choices. Costs really have shifted. That same Goldman Sachs research tracked how much of a family's income the basics eat up, and the changes since 2000 are steep. Owning a home went from about 21% of income to 36%. Childcare climbed from about 10% to 25%. Healthcare moved from about 12% to 33%. Those pressures are real, and telling someone caught in that squeeze to skip their morning coffee is useless advice. But here is why your habits still matter more than they look. Those exact pressures are the reason the gap has to be protected on purpose. When your costs go up automatically, waiting to save whatever happens to be left at the end of the month guarantees the answer will be nothing. Something automatic has to push back the other way. That brings up the belief sitting underneath all of it. Empower research found that about 74% of people think having more money would solve most of their problems. That belief is comfortable because it puts the fix somewhere in the future, in a raise or a bonus or a windfall that has not shown up yet. It also means today asks nothing of you. The question worth answering is what actually changes the outcome. Start by tracking a number that most people never look at. It is the share of your income you keep. If you earned $4,000 last month and kept $200, that is 5%. Your salary tells you what passed through your hands. That percentage tells you what your life is actually building. It predicts where you will be in 10 years, and most people have never worked it out once. Second, decide where a raise goes before it arrives. When your income rises, send at least half of the increase straight into savings, investments, or debt payoff, and do it before that money ever touches your checking account. The other half is yours to enjoy with no guilt. You still get to feel the raise. You just stop letting all of it disappear. Third, build a $1,000 cushion as fast as you can, even while you carry debt. That number is not random. It covers the size of emergency that pushes most families onto a credit card in the first place. Once that cushion exists, ordinary problems stop turning into debt and the cycle breaks at its weakest link. Fourth, separate one-time buys from ongoing commitments. Before agreeing to any new monthly payment, ask what it costs over 3 years and how hard it would be to cancel. A $70 subscription is really a $2,520 decision. Treat repeating costs with far more caution because they shape your budget long after the excitement fades. Fifth, automate all of it. A transfer that happens the day you get paid does not care how tired you are. None of this requires a bigger paycheck, and that is the part worth holding on to. Someone earning $50,000 who keeps 15% of it is building something that belongs to them. Someone earning $300,000 who keeps nothing has built a life that requires them to keep earning $300,000 forever. Money buys options only when some of it stays. Once part of your income belongs to your future instead of your current bills, the whole feeling of your finances changes. Bad months become annoying instead of scary. Opportunities become things you can say yes to. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only thing that has ever built wealth. Protect that gap and income turns into a multiplier. Ignore it, and no salary will ever be enough. If this changed how you see your own money, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there.